Welcome to the party. Hey, I'm Ellen, host of the Rewind with Ellen show, and I'm joined by my co-host, Ro Carter. Hi, Ro.
How are you?
I'm good. Cheers to you. I'm not sure what's in that bottle. I feel like it's
Well,
not
I
really
switched it
water.
up.
Oh,
This
look
is
at
like
you. Happy Thursday.
happy Thursday. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's been a busy 2 weeks. We skipped last week just because life got in the way and other things got in the way. But we're back with good stuff to talk about. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm excited to get into it. Billie Holiday. Woo! God
Right.
bless her. God
I
bless her.
mean,
And Biggie, rest in peace. It was. This is a good week. I enjoyed this. I enjoyed watching these shows, so I'm excited to talk about it.
yeah, same here. I'm gonna call this episode the Biggie and Billie edition, just
Okay.
because. Yeah, the
Little B and B. All right.
B and B. Yeah, so we're going to start with Biggie. I Got a Story to Tell, which is a documentary that dropped on March 1st on Netflix. And it's been a long time coming for this. Like, I'm not, sure like what took so long. I'm pretty sure it had everything to do with the estate making decisions and Biggie's estate making the decision to go forth. And I appreciate that they released it in the month of March because the anniversary of his death is coming up in a few days. So that is not lost on us. And so this documentary reveals a side of Christopher Wallace that, we as the world have never seen before, a very personal and introspective side to him. I've always been a fan of Biggie since day one. And so for me, this documentary was just kind of like, wow, right? It's this realization that he was a human being, right? He just wasn't like this rap star who spit, who was just lyrically amazing, one of the best. He had a whole life that he led. And as troubled as it was, he found his gift, and his gift, fed us, his fans, in a way that we will never forget who he was, what he did, and what he contributed to hip hop and into society as a whole. It was a bit emotional. It was a bit emotional, again, because, this documentary is told from the perspective of one of his best friends, or his best friend, Damian D-Rock Butler. So it's a lot of footage, real-time footage mixed with interviews from his mom, from P. Diddy, just everyone who knew and loved him that was super close to him. So you kind of get this bird's eye view of who Biggie was as a human. This documentary humanized him, and I appreciate that.
Yes.
Yeah. What? First of all, I can only imagine you're a fan of the Notorious B.I.G. Right?
No, I've never heard of the Notorious B.I.G. Tyler Perry and the Notorious B.I.G. I just never heard of them. Never heard of them before.
I don't know what y'all doing up there in Staten Island. Oh, God.
Just Wu-Tang all day. Just Wu-Tang all day. That's it. No. So before this week happened, which we didn't talk about, but before this week happened, there was an amazing artist that did Live at the Apollo. Did you see that?
Yes, I did. Oh, that was interesting. Yes, I did.
Yeah, ladies were in their feelings.
Were they though?
I had a lot of ladies telling me, like, oh, I can't wait to see D'Angelo and see. I was like, he looked like he ate a couple of burgers, but all right, having a good time. But anyway, my point is, he did a song with Method Man and Redman, and they performed live there. And so Biggie did a song with Method Man, and so that was a huge Staten Island banger back in the day. That was like, because Biggie was a god, and when one of our gods touched that god, I was like, oh man, the sun. It was crazy. So this, I was back in high school. I graduated in '96, went to college in '97 when he passed away. But what really touched me in this series was how much he meant afterwards, right? And when you see, you know what I love about all these documentaries and everything is, like, when you see our faces that look like us, and how we can come together, but only after someone dies or something tragic happens. And I was like, that same look and that look of inspiration or just motivation, I wish we had it all the time, you know? And that's, I teared up, man. This documentary is definitely, it was definitely like just one of those things like, damn, flashback and just like, oh, I remember that. And that song, I was like, oh, where was I at when that dropped? That was the, but also, you know, it reminded me of Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle used to hang out on the West Coast, and he was like, you know, around that time, you know, I went to parties with Pac. It wasn't fun. It was some serious kind of gangster moment. They don't really go that deep into it, but my point is when Biggie had to step up to that next level, Puff was like, how are we going to change it now? I gave this story, I gave Dark. Now he's like, I just want to dance and party and have a good time. And that was that era, especially on the East Coast. It was like, you just wanted to have fun. You're going to show everybody, yo, I got rolling in the sky, wave aside. Like, it was just all about that. And that's what they embodied. And so it was nice to see him, from the grassroots. Yeah. And I think this is a movie for everybody. If you ever thought about giving up, I mean, how many times did you think about, yo, I'm just going about to sling this. Everybody's dying on the corner. He's like, you know what? This is a better opportunity than what I'm doing. He's like, and it's just stick with it. Trust the process. Trust the process. And I think so many times we doubt ourselves. And it's either that person that supported us and picked us up, or just something happened at the right time and it just click, and everything happened. So it was beautiful to see that, to show, like, a lot of people, we only see one side of it. Like, we never really see the hustle that really goes into becoming who you are. And you get to see a piece of that here with this piece. And to think about it, back in the day, they were video recording, like it's always nowadays, but Instagram and everything else. But like back then, like, yeah, my boy, got to get the cassette, put it in. And then we're going around. I'm like, boom, innovative.
That's what made this documentary so special, that footage. And I'm so glad that they finally decided to release that and share that footage with the world. You know, just seeing how he grew up and the fact that he would go to Jamaica every summer and come to New York with, you know, introducing his boys to new music, to rock, to things, you know, dudes on, you know, on the corner in Brooklyn weren't used to, right? And that really said a lot about the type of young man that he was, right? It seemed like he was always thirsty for knowledge as it related to his passion. And so that's what makes his death so tragic, because it looked like he was torn, right? Having to, you know, do the street corner thing and sell drugs, but he was so much more than that. But because of the circumstances, you know, of his environment, that's what he had to do, or that's what he felt like he had to do. But on the other side, there's this super bright kid who's super talented, who, you know, was inspired by jazz musicians, you know.
Yeah, that was good. That was nice.
Right? Like I didn't know that. I had no idea about that. So seeing that just kind of put things in perspective about the type of person that he was. And I wish I would have known that then.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
In the 90s, it was all about, oh, like you said, oh, that's a bop, that's so hot, that's, you know, the beat is dope. But then that's all it was. It wasn't really about the man, right? It was really about his music, which is, you know, the same as the man, but there was so much more to him that I wish I would have known back then for an even deeper appreciation and connection to him.
Yeah, so, definitely that vulnerability that he had.
Yes.
And also, you know, Puffy's like, he was really an R&B singer.
Right.
I was like, get the hell out of here. What are you talking about? And then you see the flow. And then his uncle in Jamaica, like, I was like, yo. So he had it in his body and his genes for so long. And it just came out in different ways. I mean, it was beautifully well done. His mom and his grandma in deep, that's my baby. And then the line about oh man.
That was heavy. That was
potatoes, dried up potatoes. Like, what, mom, you need to get out more. That's not potatoes.
His mom was pretty cool. She's a tough lady.
She was. Miss, and they're like, yo, on the corner, Miss Wiles call him every day.
Right.
And you know, even Faith went into it. I was disappointed because I hate Little C, so that's my own personal thing. But they didn't get Little Kim at all, which is probably better for all of us. But Little C is just talking about his 2 cents and kind of going from there was interesting. And you forget, because everybody thinks that Puffy and Biggie grew up together.
Yeah.
No, he had his own crew, and then Puffy got on board later. So it's a nice reminder to really see. And I wonder where he would be today.
Right. Right. So another thing I learned in this documentary that, Biggie wanted to do more than just music. He wanted to get into film and acting and fashion, and he wanted to start his own label and sign artists. Like, my God, could you imagine, like you said, where he would have been today had all those things come to fruition? It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking just realizing, like, wow, do you know how many lives have been lost at such a young age that could have that made an impact while they were alive? But my God, what would they have went on to do if they had that chance to live, like the greats, like Pac, right? And then even that relationship he had with Pac, there was a clip in the documentary where you kind of see them sitting at a table, and you just see the brotherly love. You can see it, you can hear it, and then for it to have unfolded the way that it did is just so unfortunate. And also the realization that he never met his father. He never knew, he never had that connection with his father, and the impact that has on any young Black boy who isn't reared by a man, and what that does to them. So this was an awesome, awesome documentary. I haven't heard like a lot about it from people, so I don't know what that's about.
I'll let you know.
Do tell.
A friend of mine was saying this is what he's doing this weekend. He's watching the Biggie, and then he's watching Coming to America 2. So it's a setup for the weekend. I think it's everybody's kind of doing. And then if you got a lady in your life, then you're doing the Billie Holiday on Sunday, followed by the All-Star Game. So there's a lot of stuff going on. People are setting up the weekend because no one's going out right now. No one's going out right now. You're not rushing into it.
Okay, that actually makes sense. Okay. I'll go with that.
Order a pizza. You're good.
Right. Yeah. So if you haven't watched this documentary, it's on Netflix. Please check it out. If you are a Biggie fan, if you are a 90s baby, like, come on, that Ready to Die album, everything. And it had a little bit of like street, hard, depressing shit. And then also, the
suicide thing. Yeah, that was definitely interesting, because he was I want to say the first rapper that was very vulnerable in terms of like talking about, I might want to kill myself. And you're like, whoa. And that's a thought that maybe some people were thinking, but you never heard it on wax before, right? In a rap song. So it was definitely interesting to look at that perspective through his eyes.
Yeah, and it's pretty intense. Again, we were bopping to that. Like, this man was.
Yeah, I was like.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we weren't really paying attention to the messaging until now that we're adults. We're like, oh, that sounds like depression to me.
Yeah. I can diagnose that now, and you actually have a problem.
You might have been.
Note to self. Don't ever listen to old music again. Listen to the words. Woo! It'll mess you up. When we really were bopping to back then, I had no idea.
Yeah, that's pretty funny and very accurate. Yeah. Any last words before we move on?
No. Good times. Check it out.
Good times indeed. Yeah. So the United States versus Billie Holiday. Good Lord. Woo. I needed a sedative after this one. I am glad that this makes me appreciate biopics a whole lot more, because they're history lessons, right? We find things about, people and people who we didn't even think had or went through the things that they went through. We're just so busy, jamming to their music or listening to watching their movies, but never really understanding the impact and the role that they played in history. And so I'm glad that the untold story of Billie Holiday has finally been told, thanks to Lee Daniels. So the biggest shocker for me was that the government was against Billie Holiday, right?
Like, how do we not know about this? How do we not know about this?
Right. That was the biggest takeaway. Like, wait a minute, what? Like, so they did such a good job painting her out to be this heroin addict, right? Who just happens to sing jazz. But he had, her career spanned 26 years, for crying out loud. She won multiple Grammys. And then to top it all off, like, she was all for human rights, like the song Strange Fruit. And I'm embarrassed to say this, but it wasn't until maybe 10 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, that I understood what Strange Fruit, like, I actually listened to the lyrics of Strange Fruit, and I swear I've never been the same since. So fast forward, this film comes out, and it's like, okay, now it makes sense, and I'm happy to see her story being told, because she was so much more than what they painted her out to be. I thoroughly enjoyed watching Andra Day in this film. For this to be her first lead role of film, like, where you been hiding all that at?
Bodied it.
And the commitment that went into this role. I mean, this woman lost 40 pounds. She cut her hair. She started smoking cigarettes. She started drinking gin. She doesn't drink. She's not a drinker. And then she turned down this role multiple times out of fear and insecurity and feeling like there's no way I can do this justice. I'm not good enough. And when I heard her say that, she just became that more human to me, right? Because we all go through these moments. You're being told that you are good enough. This is why we picked you. This is, this is your destiny. And she's like, nah, I don't think so. I don't think I could pull that off. But I'm glad that she got out of her own head, because now she is a Golden Globe winner and may very well win an Oscar for this. What were your initial thoughts?
Well, yeah, like you said earlier, to find out that the government was trying to shut her down. And that goes to show how powerful we are when we really put our minds to it, or just want to speak our truths out in the world. And they try to deny us that. And oh man, the drug use though, Jesus Lord, it reminds me of Ray. But that was the jazz and just the energy and musicians back then, right? That's how you got your mojo and your flow, and that's how you kind of got that groove on. And so that was scary to see that. And then the relationship she was trying to build, with Jimmy Fletcher, when they're getting very intimate, she feels this isn't right. And then I want to use the quote she did, I'm used to a certain kind of love that makes me feel safe. And I was like, wait, but he's trying to.
What kind of love is that? Right.
Yeah. I'm like, slapped upside your head every time. I don't.
That makes me feel safe. Yeah.
And so at the beginning of the movie, I'm like, are they not going to show us how she got into the drugs? They're not going to show us how her life, they're just going to go right into and they mixed it up. And so then they showed her when she was younger, and then her mom was working in a whorehouse. And oh my God, you're grown. I was like, is she like 9 or 10 years old? She's like, oh yeah, you're grown now. You go out there and touch some men. You'll be fine. I'm like, and to know that was wrong at that age was like, thank you. Oh Lord, thank you. But still, there was trauma, from that experience, not really having a parent or mother to really be there and show her love and support. So any love she got, if it came with a smack upside the head, it was like, well, that's what I was used to. I don't know any other type of love.
Yeah, so enter stage right, the heroin, right? I don't know that it mattered when she got into it, but I'm pretty sure it happened soon after that incident, because in the movie they mentioned that at the age of 10, she was raped and by a neighbor. And then after that, she went with her mother to work in this brothel and became a prostitute at the age of 15. The film didn't really talk about that.
Yeah, they graze on it.
But it's now this understanding of, okay, the heroin makes sense, because who are you talking to? Who's even sympathetic to you? And at 15, this brothel got raided and she was sent to prison, right? So no one's saying like, oh my God, there's this young girl, this is not right, this should not have happened to you, we're gonna get you help, this is wrong. They sent her to jail at 15, right? So there's this trauma on top of trauma on top of trauma that she had to carry with her. And the only way to cope with that was with the heroin, unfortunately. And so what's interesting is that when I first watched this, after I watched it, I was just I felt like it was a little bit void of emotion, her performance, on Andra's performance. And I struggled with that. And then I had a really good conversation with a friend of mine, shout out to Eric Cherry. And he kind of put it into perspective. He was like, listen, think about it. She's been detached the entire time. She's not connected with real emotion, healthy emotion. So, you know, that's what Andrea is bringing across. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. I'll dial back my judgment. It has nothing to do with Andrea. It has everything to do with this, you know, it might have been on purpose that she was supposed to be void of a certain level of emotion. But ironically, anytime she got on stage, that's when the emotion came out in her face and through her body. Off stage, it was just very, I'm just going through my motions, you know, when's the next hit? When are we partying sort of thing? So I thought that was an interesting contrast of how comfortable she was on stage in front of people, singing and doing what she loved.
Wow, I just saw it from your perspective that way. I was like, oh, that changes the whole movie. Yeah, she
Right.
does. It does become an awful movie if I look at it from your eyes.
Right.
It's like,
I mean,
no, but
yeah.
I give everyone a chance, and then I guess I understood. Oh, that was actually her character. That was who she was. And so it took me, and again, then I saw it when she did sing. I was like, oh, there it is. Oh, there it is. There it is.
Right.
And then she was funny too. She had a personality. Like she was, when she was good and going through the stuff, but she always loved her fans. And that's something you always saw, like coming out after and saying, hey, where you from? Oh, that's where I grew up, around there. Oh, that's some good chicken. You better take them out tonight. And so you saw that oozed out of her, the love for her people. And so that was beautiful to see. Because some people are like, hey, when I'm off the stage, I'm off the stage. Leave me the hell alone.
Yeah.
But she did have a heart, and she did have. Oh, when her dog died, oh my God,
that was funny and sad, right?
Yeah, it was like,
oh, y'all are doing the most. It's a dog.
Yeah. So, it was beautifully done. Oh, there were some scenes and some shots where they went to like little old school black and white, and then there was a silhouette. Like I didn't know if it was a leg but it was her arm laid. I was like, oh, that's a great. Some really good shots. And in old New York, oh, with the bright lights and Paris back in the day, I was like, oh, okay, all right. I missed that, I think. But
yeah, like there was the shot of her walking in the middle of the city. It's at night, it's raining, and like behind her is just the city, the lights, and she's just, you know, looking for a fix.
Yeah,
in the rain,
like,
with her little poodle or her little dog in her hand and her umbrella, looking as beautiful as ever. Looking for a fix. Yeah, there were a couple of beautiful, beautiful cinematic shots in that. The scene that sort of put things in perspective for me additionally was when her and Jimmy are in the motel room. And that's the first time we see them have sex. And, you know, she assumes the position on all fours, like that's what she's used to. And initially Jimmy, you know, proceeds to do what he's going to do, but then he stops and realizes like, okay, I just don't want to F her. I want to make love to her. Like, I love this woman. And the way she reacted to that love, that emotion of, I want more from you than just sex. That's when it clicked. Like, oh, she's not used to love. Yeah. She's not used to intimacy. Right. And being made to feel beautiful and being kissed up. Like he tried to kiss her on the lips and she was just like, yo,
buddy,
what are you doing? And so that again put in perspective to me, like how she led her life and the type of men, and we saw the type of men that she entertained. And that was heartbreaking. The scene when, you know, I forget dude's name that beat her up in front of a girl, that was heartbreaking to watch.
Yeah, McKay, played by Rob Morgan. He played the hell out of that role. I was like, Jesus.
No. I'm talking about
the light-skinned brother, Tone Bell?
Yeah, John
Levy.
Yes.
Yeah.
He plays John Levy. His name is Tone Bell. I mean, he
knocked her up too. They all knocked her upside the head.
They all knocked her up, and she beat him up too. So that was just something she was used to. My God! So this woman had been fighting all her life.
That shows how strong she was, though. You know.
Yes. I mean, when you think about how frail she looked, again, Andrea had to drop 40 pounds to look like a heroin addict, right? Because you're not going to be all healthy and buxom on on heroin, right? And then I was pleasantly surprised by the nudity. Like I was just like, oh my God, Andrea, what's happening? But again, her commitment to this role came through in such a beautiful way. I think that Golden Globe was well deserved. And yeah, this was a lot. It was a lot. I mean, the opening scene of this film was just I wanted to gouge my eyes out when we see the burned body. Like, that's how y'all want to start this? Okay, all right, all
Yeah,
right.
I was like, oh, all right, gonna be one of these again. Here we go.
Right, right. And so when you think about these sort of films, as much as we need them, they're also just like trauma on top of trauma on top of trauma. Like, I don't know how to feel about that. I don't know where to place my emotions about, do I want to keep seeing images like that, or is it important to continue seeing images like that so we never freaking forget?
Well, I mean, I have a couple of things on that, but they voted on this, and it still hasn't been passed. Lynching is still allowed.
Still today.
Still today. It's 2021. It's like they look at it, oh, well, I mean, like,
right, because apparently it's not so cut and dry. It's not just dry as lynching. There's other things.
How hard is this to just be like, oh, we gotta get rid of this? I'm like, is that really a?
Apparently it is.
But to go into that, this reminded me also of Judas and the Black Messiah.
Yes.
Because Jimmy Fletcher's character, you know, another agent, undercover. And so, unlike Lakeith Stanfield's character in Judas and the Black Messiah, Jimmy Fletcher realizes that what he's doing is wrong. And so that, I was like, thank you. A different contrast, but I love that aspect of it. Like, hey, we're hurting our people. You know, why are we doing this? For what? What's the point of this? And then he hits them later, the commissioner later, he's like, you know, you're just upset because a Black woman is being successful.
Yeah.
And I was like, boom. And then that one other point I wanted to add in, Leslie Jordan played Reginald Lord Divine.
Yeah.
And they're talking about her music and everything and Strange Fruit. And he goes, honey, life would be easier if you just behaved. And I'm like, oh.
Really, white man? Would it be that easy if we just behave?
But honestly, that's the 50s version of just shut up and dribble.
Sure. Yeah.
You know? And that hit me deep on another level when he said it. I was like, fuck, that's that same mentality. Just shut up and dribble.
Till this day.
Why do you have to kneel? You can protest in other ways. It's just like, what do? We can't sing a song? We can't.
And so it makes me think, like, you know, because that song, well, Billie helped integrate audiences, right? So you have a shit ton of white folks that are just loving her music. What were they actually thinking about Strange Fruit, right? Were they thinking that, oh, it's this beautiful song, she sang it beautifully? No, it's actually a horrifying song, right? It's actually horrible. It's actually terrible, right? In terms of context and what she's singing. Yes, she belted it beautifully, but what she's singing about is horrific. And I read an article earlier today about, I forget which outlet it was in, but it was talking about how Andrea she was pissed off by the crew clapping after she sang it as they were filming, because it meant that they didn't understand the significance of that song. If after I sing it, you're telling me what a beautiful song, it's actually not. There's still a lot of work to do if you can tell me that this is a beautiful song. Like, do you understand what the lyrics are saying? Right? And she said as much to Leslie Jordan's character, like, have you ever seen a lynching? Have you ever witnessed it? Like, you know, so it's kind of this like over the head sort of situation with the white audience. Like, did they really get it? Like, why did they want her to keep singing it? What was that? Like, we get why Black people wanted her to keep singing it, right? Keep telling the truth, keep telling it like it is.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because the commissioner saw the power in that, because it was motivating people of color. But white people didn't see that. They didn't understand at that time. They were just like, oh, this is a good song. And she has this range and it sounds different. And just, I've never heard something like this before. And when I watch her face, I feel all that emotion. But again, you're not listening. You're not listening to what's going on. So I mean, I think that's a big disconnect, right? It's like we can go to the beginning of slavery. We just took your child away from you and now go to work. And it's like, you don't understand, that's messing me up. That's why I can't do this, because you've taken a part of me and I don't know what's going to happen to that. So I don't think they've ever were or had to process certain things, right? If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like you grew up, like a lynching was what, on an afternoon, like, oh, the lynching's going to be at 5 today. You ready? Yeah, I want to get in the front row and really get a good view, right? So when that's a normal thing every day or every week, the normalcy is you shut that out. You don't listen to that. And it's I mean, right, it's hard to say, well, you're not listening to that, but I think when you're in a privileged society at that time, where you are the one that nothing can happen to me, I can't do no wrong. Why do I need to listen to that? I like the melody. There you go. Boom, 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 boom. That's it.
That's crazy. That's crazy. And that's sad. The FBI agent, the Anslinger, and I'm quoting him here. He said, those lyrics are un-American. the lyrics provoke people in the wrong way. Like, what?
I still don't understand that line. I don't understand. I was like, in the wrong way. I was like, it's as American as apple pie.
Like, to say those lyrics are un-American, meanwhile, those lyrics come from a real experience. And you're saying that that's un-American? And that's, I mean, this film was a bit of a mind F. It was emotional. It was mentally taxing. Just seeing those images, especially when we see the image of her when she's high and she's tripping and she goes back to her childhood.
Oh, that was good.
And the burning of the cross, and the mother. Like, I cannot even imagine having that level of trauma and having to carry it with you and nowhere to place it other than on stage, right? But even when you're on stage, you're still high as hell, So, and then, for her to die at such a young age at 44, again, I mean, I know that she died of cirrhosis of the liver, but there's no telling where else she could have gone, what other barriers she could have broken, because she certainly did with Strange Fruit. That changed the game in my perspective. There was one scene between Freddie, who's played by Miss Lawrence. Freddie's talking to Jimmy Fletcher, and he says, "She looks like $1 million, but she feels like nothing." Ooh.
Ooh, yeah, I was like, ooh. No.
That was heavy and very, very accurate, and it made me think of Ma Rainey's Black Bottom.
Yeah.
The character Viola Davis plays, looks like $1 million. She went to great lengths to look like she fitted in, but meanwhile inside there's just a whole other story going on in terms of survival back in that age. But yeah, I don't even know what else to say after that. I'm still processing this.
Yeah, I mean, also her escapades, her lesbian escapades on the side, like trying to figure that out.
That's right. I didn't even know that, with Tallulah Bankhead, played by Natasha Lyon, or Leon. I hope I'm pronouncing that last name correctly. I didn't know Billie was into girls. Like, what?
Just mixing it up. She's
shaking, right? And so the scene when her and Tallulah are walking by the pond
in the park.
The park, and she meets up with McKay and his white woman, and so it's like it's this black woman with her white woman, and then it's this black man with his white woman. And he said, what do you say we ditch these snow bunnies and go do black shit? Yo, I almost fell off the couch.
I was like, yo. And then I could picture someone doing that today, though. I could actually picture somebody doing that.
It's so funny because I watched this movie with a group of close friends, and 2 of them are white. So after that scene, my best friend John says to me, he looks at his white friend and he's like, "Oh, well, I guess we're snow bunnies now, huh?" I thought that was hysterical.
Wait. They were only used, no, but it's only used for women, though.
But I mean, right.
Yeah. But they let them know. Don't feel bad. Snow bunnies is only for white women. It's not for men. It's not for men.
And I'm not laughing at that. I'm just laughing at
with them.
His comedic sense in that moment to be like, oh, okay, I guess we're the snow bunnies. Got it.
Yeah, that's funny.
Anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, just to go back to the dark side of when the lynching and she's going back in time, and I went dark for a minute there because I thought about, you know how long it takes to get someone off a tree. Yeah. Sorry, I went really. I was like, and then the kids are watching. So I think there's a deeper, like it's deep. They never showed that side. I don't know if we really need to see that side, but I think if any film goes there, I think that's when you really start to feel like what it was to really be a part of that, because that's where my mind then I was like, okay, I got to get mom down. I have the kids. How do I get? I mean,
Jesus Christ.
No ladder. You're not going anywhere. I mean, there's a lot of. It's just like, what do I do? I can't leave her up there. It's just like your brain. And then I'm sure if you went into town and try to get help, it'd be like, yeah, all right, bro. So there's just so many things at once. You've lost your house. You lost your wife, and now you're dealing with the kids, and and you can't do anything because if you try anything, they're gonna kill you too. So it's just so many levels to it that I think I wonder to this day why people can't understand that. Like when we talk about reparations or we talk about Black Lives Matter, it's like, why don't you understand that? And I think it's our history, right? It's what have we been seen or shown? We're seeing Black history now more than ever. We didn't have any of this stuff. Yeah. None of these outlets. And so I'm glad we get to see all these stories be told, but in ways that are like provocative and moving. It's not just like, oh, well, I saw that the other day and I saw this. No. You're actually like, wow, whoo. I need a minute to digest that and take that all in and then process it. Because that's the one thing as people of color, we're still talking about, I still have to process this. Isn't that crazy? Like, I still have to process this. So I can't even imagine, if I don't want to say anything bad that people aren't well equipped to do that. But it's just that's a huge component, I think, to process all this information. Can you empathize with what those people are going through or what we might have been going through or what we see and how that makes us feel? Because that's the bigger picture of that. And if you can do that, I think that's when things start to change. And then maybe in 2024, we can vote on this thing. So you can't lynch somebody.
That would be nice. I mean, that's so good. You said it best earlier. There's a certain level of detachment from white people that they know nothing about that. Like it unless it's them. Like I'll never forget the movie A Time to Kill with Samuel L. Jackson and Matthew McConaughey, and that damn court scene when Matthew McConaughey's character, the lawyer, was giving the closing statement, and the whole time I'm thinking he's because it's an all white jury, of course. And so I'm thinking he's gonna, paint the picture like, okay, all these things happen. Now imagine if it was your daughter. Nah, he said, imagine if she were white. And then you literally see the jurors just their face dropped, almost like now it makes sense because now you're visualizing if she was white, then it's actually horrific what happened to this little Black girl.
It affects you now. Now
it affects you now. You care. Now, it kind of serves a purpose in your mind. And so I think that's what we're dealing with today. And I think we will always have to deal with that. Of course, there's a subset of white people that have some sense, right? That have a lot of sense and understand all that they need to understand. But I think those that don't outweigh those that do, which is really sad and really scary, right? And I don't think that's ever going to change, which is crazy to say. Like, it is what it is. So now, are we comfortable with it is what it is? Or like, how do we ever move away from that? Will we ever? I don't know. It's not looking so bright, but
we're making more Patrick Mahomes. So that's why people are being stubborn about changing their ways, because they got to hold on to it. And I was like, we're all people at the end of the day. We're all the same.
Yeah.
So I think just when the times change and you become, instead of the majority, the minority, it's like, okay, what do you do now? Either you gotta, or aliens come down. My whole thing is aliens come down, it changes everything. Racism ends tomorrow. And then we just have the human race, and then we have aliens. That's the only way I think racism will end.
Yeah, I don't think racism will ever end, though. So
aliens, I'm telling you, aliens.
I mean, okay, we'll go with we'll go with the aliens. What did I want to say really quick? So the whole, like, while Jimmy Fletcher's character is real, like that steamy romance, that was all fictionalized, right? Yeah. That they actually didn't have.
Yeah, I had to look into that. I was like, yo,
right. Is that real? Did that actually happen? But I'm glad that they put that in there. They put that romance and that one love story that she actually had with someone that cared for her. It didn't really start out that way. Although I feel like when he first laid eyes on her, there was love there, right? But then he was committed to his job, and that's, what he needed to do, and he had to do what he had to do. But then he, unlike William O'Neill, he came to his senses eventually, from Judas and the Black Messiah, like you said. But I say all that to say I'm glad that they kind of injected that happy vibe of love. Like she experienced it for a hot.
You needed that, otherwise you were gonna.
Right. Thank you. Yes, that's what I was getting at.
They're like, oh, okay, the movie's almost over. Yeah, we gotta put something in here.
That's what I was getting at.
We gotta help this out.
Yeah, so there are people that are saying that the movie was just okay. Have you heard that? Have any of your people?
Like I said, everybody's going to watch it this weekend. They put it on. So I told everybody to watch tonight or watch the after hours of this when we do the rewind and get an idea. But I actually really liked it.
Yeah, I was
like my ratings. I think you'll like this.
Yeah, I was struggling to understand why people thought it was just okay. I think like everything but Billie had to be simple, right? You couldn't have all this extra shit going on in the background. Just like, I think that all had to be simple because Billie was the main attraction. She was complicated, she was troubled, and that needed to be the main focus. And then something just popped into my mind going back to Judas and the Black Messiah, the parallel lines that cross, in addition to William O'Neill, the whole government angle, right? Like we couldn't get these stories without the government being involved. Why not, right? Like Billie's story was told back in the 70s with Diana Ross. And so we got that. We got that with Billie Holiday. We got that super personal side when Diana Ross portrayed her. And then now we get the political side, which is interesting that we just got that with Judas and the Black Messiah. So,
like I said, at this point, if I see one more movie where the government jumped in, it's reparations. Why are we talking about it right now? Just write the check already.
Cut the check.
Write the check.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, what are you giving, Billie?
Ooh, you gonna do that to me today?
Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna give it. It was on Hulu. Because I gotta think of the big movies like Ray, the Nina Simone movie. I gotta think of all the ones. My Rainey's Black Bond. I gotta.
Why are you comparing them? Why is that even a comparison?
Well, because of the time and what was going on. I love to see everybody sort of biopics and kind of get an idea of like, stay stacked up to other biopics.
Okay.
If I'm not stacking up to other biopics, I give it an 8. If I stack it up to other biopics, I'm gonna give it a 7.
Okay. Yeah, I'm between an 8 and an 8.5.
Okay, so we're on the same page. Same page.
So that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, if y'all have not watched the United States versus the Billie Holiday, get your mind right. And go forth into the unknown so you can know, You
should have a section like you get a bottle with your show tonight. Here you go.
You're gonna need it. Oh my God, especially if you're Black, you're gonna need it.
We recommend you drink this with this. Just a little bit, and then a little side of heroin. You'll be fine. Sorry, we don't condone.
A side of heroin. That's really funny.
Hey, there's a teacher right now that does heroin microdoses to get through the day.
There's what?
Did you see that? There's a Black professor that does heroin. Yes, and he says he has a whole thing on. He did all these studies on on heroin, and then he's like, "Yeah, I microdose throughout the day. It gets me through the day. I had to get so much work done," and he functions. Yeah. You should. I will send it to you. It's not hilarious, but it's just like, wait, what? Yeah, professor. He still has his job, and then someone made some jokes that like Black Twitter was like, "Yeah, I bet you lost your job. You be doing some crazy stuff."
The heroin, sir.
Yes, because his argument was that the government makes heroin and all drugs to be really bad. And again, just with anything, if you just are using all the time, but he's like, if you microdose just like any drug, then you can have a livable life. And I was like, it's an interesting article. You got to read the article. It's very, very interesting. He's like, I did a lot of studies, read all the statistics, and like, there's more fear mongering than there is actual facts of that this drug will make you do this and that. And I was like, oh, and he did the research. He literally did the research.
You would have to back that up.
Yeah, so I was like, all right.
A comment just came in from, and I hope I'm pronouncing this first name right. Forgive me if I'm not. Jaya Gomez. They say that Nina Simone's movie with Zoe Saldana was horrible. It was. I agree with you there. It was not received well for many reasons. I don't know why they didn't cast someone that looks closer.
He's still apologizing for that movie to this day.
Yeah, as she should. As she should.
Oh, what do you turn it down? Hey.
You do the right thing and say A1. There were so many other people that could have played Nina Simone. Are you kidding?
A million other people. And nothing to Zoe, but it was just
right.
God.
Right. And if you've done research on Nina Simone and the type of woman she was, the shit that she brought forth, there's no way Zoe Saldana was going to capture that shit. I'm sorry.
In an ideal world, I would have loved Lauryn Hill to play Nina Simone, but she's not. I don't think she would have been able, but I would have loved an ideal world.
You know who else would have played, I think would have done that role justice to the nth degree? Michaela Cole from I May Destroy You.
Yeah, okay. Right.
Aesthetically and just acting, like, listen, that's who should have played Nina Simone. But I guess we'll never know. We'll never find out.
We can do it again. Right now, just no one's watching it at home. We already heard. Ooh, no, don't touch it. Give us some new stuff, new stories.
Yeah. Anyway, the United States versus Billie Holiday. I'm so glad that Lee Daniels, and I read somewhere that this is something he's wanted to do since he was 13 years old. I think that was his first time seeing a film or a show or just something that sparked his interest in film, and specifically with Billie Holiday. So I can't say enough how important it is for biopics to come out as often as they can, just as teachable moments, teachable bodies of work. Yeah. Kudos.
He went sober from the movie. He became sober during the movie.
Right.
Yeah, he was like, yeah, I haven't had a drink.
Yeah.
I realized I have a problem. I was like, oh, all right.
Yeah. Any last words before we wrap this baby up?
No, I'm excited. Please come into America. Don't disappoint me, please.
Please. I can't wait.
Please. Oh God.
It comes out tomorrow on what? Amazon Prime, right?
Yes. So I'm excited to watch that tomorrow. Maybe talk about it next week.
So next week we may or may not be here because some of us are traveling to exotic places, and
I'm in the States.
It's still exotic-ish. I don't know. It ain't here. It ain't DC or Staten Island or Jersey City. So it's
why you always dissing Staten Island? What's up?
I watched a stand-up the other day and somebody was dissing the hell out of Staten Island.
Yeah, we get ripped all the time. I only stick up for some of it sometimes. Sometimes I'm like, you know what, you're right. That's true. That's just one of those things. That's one of those things.
So yeah, we may or may not be here next Thursday. We shall see.
I'm gonna try. The internet is good, ladies and gentlemen. We will be there ready to rock. Right. Oh, that'd be nice. A little like.
Exactly. You better make that rock interesting as you possibly can. So
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try.
you
If I can do
experience
it,
that.
maybe I'll just do it from the beach. Be like, ooh, hello,
Ooh,
that's what? That's a turtle.
okay. Good luck with that Wi-Fi connection.
Hey, you never know. Never know.
All right, my friends, as always, it's a pleasure. Thank you all for tuning in, those that did. And thanks, Jaya Gomez, for your comment. Like, we need to get people leaving more comments so we can engage throughout the show, but we'll figure that out. Anyway, all right, I'm done talking.
All right.
Bye, Ro.
Bye-bye. Have a good week.
You too.